Yeah. Do you want to
Yeah,
share when we first met? Because I love
yeah,
this conversation, because people think when you're in this work, like you're the almighty and you don't mess this up. And it's like,
yeah,
no, when we're in this work, we even screw it up sometimes, right?
yeah, yeah. Well, you and I know the story well that we both are a part of a spiritual community here in Fort Lauderdale where we both live. And I was invited to during the pandemic, we were back to in-person events. Um, the in-person event I was asked to speak at, some people had masks, some people didn't. So I kind of remember a lot of people dialed in. You dialed in, we know.
Yeah, yeah.
And it was the pastor of our church and me on stage. And it was a great topic. It was unconscious bias, which is my specialty, to conscious spirituality, which is the topic of our awesome pastor, Chris Michaels. And you dialed in, I believe it was 90 minutes to 2 hours. We had incredible engagement with the audience. And afterwards, you sent me an email. You told me that you do learning development, learning delivery, you do leadership development, not learning, leadership development, leadership delivery, and that you enjoyed the presentation and you'd love to meet sometime. Your name is Norbert Belz, and it's crazy ridiculous that we actually in all of our workshops talk about name bias on resumes, that we make up a story. If it's the name of our worst kindergarten teacher or third grade teacher, we subtly project into that person's name. If they have the same name as ours, I tend to be positively biased toward other Scots. You know about the resume study where people with white sounding names got a better reading of their resume than black sounding names. I read Norbert. I thought nerd, not that I have any against nerds, but I made up a story that you sit at home and tune into as many webcasts as you can, and then you try to reach out to people and make friends. So I put you off for quite a while. And then I don't remember if you followed up or I finally emailed. What do you remember about that?
I followed up because it was funny, because dealing with my own stuff, it was like, why is this guy not getting back to me? And I made up my own story in my head. And then when I, checked in with what I do, it's like the best way is just to reach out and actually to talk, and so I reached out with a little more persistence that time and just said, let's meet.
So we met for lunch or coffee, and within the first 3 seconds, I realized what I had done, that I had put you in a box. I had made up a story, and we've had how many lunches and coffees and Zoom conversations in the last year?
When I
20.
love that you shared it right away too, because
I told you at that first meeting, I told you.
first
Yeah.
meeting, and that's where we want to get to in our organizations that we work with. We want to have those conversations and get it out of the way right off the bat, so we're not sitting on those biases, we're not sitting on those stories and making them more expansive and more detrimental. So we really want to have those conversations. So, and that's really when I decided I really want to work with Scott, because that was the first thing you said when we first met. And I love that, because I was like, that's the connection that I felt with you when you did that, the recorded Zoom. And I was like, there's a connection there and I want to explore that. So I'm so glad we did. And I'm so glad we finally made it here today to do this. So this is
Yeah.
awesome.